Hey y'all, welcome to Adventures with Aggie, brought to you by the Ryan Martin Foundation. Today we have another episode powered by PER4MAX. We're featuring Matt Scott, who is a 5-time Paralympian, bronze medalist, and 2-time gold medalist. He's absolutely amazing, super excited to be a part of the PER4MAX family, and he's going to tell us all about his career in wheelchair basketball. Please welcome Matt. Well, Matt, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. Just recently got back from Tokyo, which I'm sure if you heard, we were lucky enough to, shouldn't say lucky, we were skilled and executed enough to bring home a gold medal. And I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, congratulations. Welcome back. Welcome to this side of the world.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Even though we're on different sides of the world.
Yeah.
We're on different coasts, right?
That's true. Yes, we're almost on the same side of the world.
Right.
But I will say I lost lots of sleep watching you guys over in Tokyo, but it was well worth it.
All right. I heard we gave the spectators something to watch, which is always exciting on that.
Definitely. Good times. Very glad that I stayed up, lost some sleep that day, but it was all good.
Yeah, you're a ride or die. If you stayed up that late to watch us play, you're right. We appreciate you.
Yes. Of course, I was all over Instagram and I was posting and my friends were like, why are you up right now? And I was like, you don't get it. I sent them the link.
If you would have fell asleep, we would have lost. So I guess we have you to thank.
It was all me. No, definitely you guys. But just to kind of start out here, can you tell us a little bit about who you are, where you're from, and what you do?
All right. Who am I? Well, my name is Matt Scott. I come from Detroit, Michigan. And I've been playing wheelchair basketball as long as most people have been alive. I've been a part of the U.S. national team for the last 18 years consecutively. I've represented Team USA in Athens, London. Oh, that's not the right order. So I've represented in Athens, Beijing, London, Rio, and then finally Tokyo. So those are the 5 Paralympics I represented Team USA. Was fortunate enough to come away with 2 gold medals and part of some wonderful teams. Those 2 back-to-back golds were 2 of the most skilled and talented teams that I ever had the pleasure of playing with.
That's awesome. Congratulations again. That's so exciting. And that's so many games and I love it. That's
Thank
awesome.
you so much. I guess I failed to mention that I spent the last 12 years playing abroad in Europe, sort of dominating that league. I got together with my good friend Jake Williams, who you've probably spoken to on the podcast.
Yep.
We had some success over in Germany where we won a few Champions Cups, which is the highest championship in Europe. I spent some time in Turkey where I won a few of those. Went over to Italy and had some fun over there. Didn't have as much success, but had some fun. And then I spent the last year in Spain where it was a pandemic year, just kind of preparing for Tokyo. And didn't have much success over there either, but it was an experience.
That's so many places. That's like so many countries. That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wanna go. I wanna do that. That's nice.
Well, it seems like you got your head in the right place as far as supporting wheelchair basketball. You can find it anywhere out there in Europe. It's in like 5 or 6 different countries. There's some pretty competitive leagues. There's good basketball out there.
Cool. That's awesome. And yes, Jake did mention this earlier. He was talking about living in Germany and how much fun y'all had over there. Fun on and off the court.
That's right. Well, that's my boy. And we, whether we played wheelchair basketball or not, I would definitely be hanging out with the Jake Williams. He's a fun-loving guy, and I'm pretty fun-loving myself. And then when we get together on the court, it's just over. I haven't lost many games with him on my team.
That's perfect. That's the perfect duo. I love that. Awesome. Cool. Okay, I want to backtrack a little bit. How did you first get involved in wheelchair basketball? How did you find this sport?
So I get that question quite often, and I think I guess the easy answer is I didn't really know anything about wheelchair basketball. I grew up loving basketball, loving sports, being a very athletic and active child. But I didn't find wheelchair basketball until I was about 14. only because there was sort of a lack of knowledge and lack of exposure for it. Had I seen it, had I had the opportunity to see what it actually was, because when I heard wheelchair basketball in my head, it didn't really sound competitive. It sounded more, I guess, rehabilitative or recreational. And I wanted the ball. I wanted to really get out there and hoop. You know, I'm a competitor. You know, before anything, I'm a competitor. So I would hear about wheelchair basketball, and it didn't really draw me in. But when I finally checked out a game, finally checked out a practice, and saw the athleticism and the competitive nature and the skill that it took to play the game, oh yeah, I've been a part of it ever since.
So at what point did you realize that you wanted to take this to high performance?
So the people that were at that particular practice or in part of that particular team can tell you, you know, firsthand. When I first got on the court playing wheelchair basketball, the first thing I wanted to know is like, well, who's the best? Like, who's the best? Like, where are they at? And can I beat them one-on-one? Basically, I you know, I always had that like challengers mentality. Oddly enough, that team was called the Challengers. I just always wanted to I wanted to know what the highest height was, and if I could reach it, I was going to go for it. So I think pretty much right away. You know, I come from, you know, the humble beginnings of playing, you know, on street courts in you know, Metro Detroit. And you know, all the trash talk and all the all the guys that, you know, pushed me to my limits as far as they could go. That brought a competitive side out of me, that I used later throughout my Paralympic career.
That's awesome. Full circle, I guess, comes all the way around back to Detroit.
That's
Where
right.
you were raised. I love it. Awesome. Okay, I want, I guess, a bit of story time. You mentioned all the games you've been to. Can you tell us some of your highlights? I'd love to hear about Tokyo, but obviously you've been to a bunch of these. So I guess, what are some of your favorite Paralympic memories?
Man, I love story time. Let's get to story. All right. Well, I mean, you want to mean like when you say highlights, do you mean like professional highlights, like what was the greatest, you know, feeling? What is that? Or do you mean like stories like with the team? Because a lot of times, like you go out there and, for example, Tokyo, like we came home with a gold medal, which is, you know, as high as the best you could possibly do at the Paralympic Games, the greatest achievement that you can possibly accomplish in our sport. But so much went into that. There's so many stories I can tell you about the team. There's so many.
Yeah.
I mean, I could give you the high level, like, okay, you know, the best thing was when, you know, we won this game or we scored this many points. Or, I don't know, that could be a draw. That could be fun. But, you know, that team has so much character. There's so many great guys, in the true success of that team is how close we were on the court and off the court. So, I mean, I've got stories for days.
Take it, you can take it off the court. That's so funny because Jake answered the same way. He was like, yeah, the medal is great, but all this stuff happened.
Right. I mean,
he was talking about the buildup. So I think happy for you to take it that way as well.
Well, for sure. I mean, it's all about the you know, the road that you travel there. You know, you don't win that gold medal the day that you won the gold medal. All the things that you did leading up to that day, that won the gold medal. You know, it was out of our hands. By the time they threw the ball up in the air and the game started against Japan, the winner had already been decided. It's just, you know, you just kind of, you have to go out there and execute it. But all the work and all of the, you know, both on court and off court, that we put into that won the game. You know, society went through something crazy in the last, you know, 18 to 20 months. The resilience that we all had to display, the sacrifice that we all had to put out there, in order to even make it to Tokyo. You know, there's guys on the team that have, you know, several kids and jobs and wives, and those several kids and jobs and wives aren't happy that, you know, that we had to go spend those 3 weeks and defeat the rest of the world. But we were all happy to be there together. You know, we one thing is really cool. We have this, I guess we have like a token on the team, which is a championship belt. And we would carry that around in Tokyo, and all the other teams would look at us like we were the biggest. I don't know if I probably shouldn't say bad words. They would look at us like we were the biggest buttheads, right? Because it looked like a cocky, arrogant kind of thing that we were doing. We are the champions kind of thing. But in reality, it was just a token that we had on our team that if you did something that was championship worthy, whether it was have a teammate's back, to lead the team in communication, to do something that was that didn't necessarily show up in the stat sheet, to actually be a champion that day, you got the championship belt and you got to carry that around the village, and that was like a badge of honor. So when everybody was looking at us like we were these cocky like idiots, we were just like, nah, you know what? It doesn't matter, because we have this close-knit circle. We don't care what anybody thinks. And you know, that proved to be the secret to success.
It worked. It definitely worked.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Cool. I want to ask you about the closing ceremonies. Heard you had a pretty cool role there. How was that?
So one thing is, I never really imagined that I would get that type of honor. You know, I know my teammates have a lot of love for me. I know that, oh wait, sorry about that. Yeah, anyway, I know that my teammates have a lot of love for me. I know that I have a lot of notoriety and popularity within the sport of wheelchair basketball. But to be the flag bearer of the entire delegation and represent in that type of way, it just really showed me something. It really showed me, you know, how much I've meant to this Paralympic movement. It showed me that the last 18 years that I put down were admired, and you know, it's kind of an exalted position that I felt. You know, I didn't need to say I deserve this. People spoke in I guess nominated me and said that I deserved it, which, you know, it was kind of an emotional moment with having won the gold medal hours before that. All the emotion that went into that. It's just, you know, it was very, very emotional. I'm actually going to try to not be emotional right now, just thinking about it. It's incredible to think that I have that type of influence across the Paralympic movement.
Definitely. That's great. You put it into words very well. I'm not sure how I would have described that, but you did it very well. And I love that.
I was extremely proud to hold that flag.
Yeah, I bet. I think it's so cool. I had Chuck Aoki on the show before, and he was the opening ceremony. Now I have you, the closing ceremony at the same games. That's so crazy for me. I couldn't imagine what it's like for y'all.
And Chuck's a great guy. You know, he used to be a basketball player back in the day. Yeah. I don't know if I told you that.
Yeah, he did. He mentioned it, and then he was like, "But rugby's great." I was like, "I know, I get it," but that's awesome. Anyway, super exciting. Love the pictures. Saw the big smiles under the masks and things like that. But it was super cool to watch that happen. And I mean, it was before we met, but I was still super proud of you then too.
I appreciate that. Now, if you could see the smile on my face, you could just. I mean, it was written all over me. I didn't have to say a single thing. You could just see, you know, how proud I was, how emotional of an experience that was. You know, just, you know, not just the last 18 to 20 months that were trying for me. This was a whole. this is an incredibly trying time for me as far as getting back to being able to compete at the Paralympic level. So just sort of thinking about all those, it was just this. I don't know. I was overcome with emotion and very happy that it happened that way.
Yeah. Oh, there were a lot of factors this year that
there were.
need to be listed, but lots of factors that went into this year to make it emotional for everybody involved. I think
that's right.
Amazing. Super cool to watch from the other side of the planet again, but it was great. But awesome. Cool. Okay. So I guess what have you been up to since or post Tokyo? I know it's still fresh. You've been back for what, 3 weeks, maybe 3 weeks?
It's roughly 3 weeks. So, you know, life doesn't slow down for anybody, does it? Right. So when we landed from Tokyo, I had about 3 or 4 days to collect myself, just kind of, you know, I guess dust off the jet lag, get my stuff packed. And then we actually headed straight to Vegas. where where we met all the guys on the team and celebrated the right way when we got there. It was awesome. It's one thing when you're at a competition and you're flown there by the United States Olympic and Paralympic Committee, and you're there because that's your duty to be there. But when you come together with a group of guys that you could be doing anything, you could be anywhere in the world, but you choose to be there together. That just shows the bond that we had throughout this, not just this summer, but throughout our entire careers. These guys are always going to have a brother out of me, and that was incredible. But since Vegas, I only spent a couple days there. Too many days in Vegas is not recommended. But then I've actually moved to sunny California. I'm here in the Bay Area where I just got off of work. I'm actually working with Visa, which is something that I never thought I would be able to say. This is one of the most world-renowned companies in the center of the economy, and have so much influence, and being able to connect so many people to the economy. It's incredible. But yeah, I'm now working on the global sponsorships side, on the marketing side, and that's pretty much what I've been up to for the last couple of weeks.
That's a lot in 3 weeks.
Life doesn't slow down for me.
Yeah, that's crazy. I love that for you, though. I hope you enjoy San Francisco. Lovely place. But yeah, and congrats on the job. That's super fun. That's like a really amazing company and a really, really cool space to be in right now too.
It's a very cool space. Like I said, they just have so much influence and ability to connect people all over the world. I just feel like I'm doing something truly impactful. And it's one of the most recognizable brands, one of the most recognizable companies in the world. So it's from going from a gold medal at the top of the podium to working for pretty much a gold medal company. Yeah. This is like movie-esque. I can't really believe that it's happening.
That's so okay. I hope somebody hears that and makes a movie out of all the stuff you've done, because that should be next. I see it.
I hope Will Smith's not busy. I want him to play.
That would be great. I should start asking all of my guests that. That should be the next question. If you were in a movie, who would you want to play you? I love it. Okay, let's call Will after this and see if he's busy.
All right, we'll do it.
Perfect. Okay, cool. We've kind of gone through your story, everything up until quite literally this week. But let's go back to PER4MAX. Why we're here, the lovely people who brought us here to have this conversation. How did you join the PER4MAX family? I guess, how did this kind of begin for you?
I guess to take a huge step back, none of this, all of these things that I've mentioned, being the flag bearer, winning a gold medal twice, competing over in Europe and just completely dominating, having the career that I've had and the trajectory that I've executed it with, none of that would be possible without PER4MAX. And I'll say that again, none of that will be possible without PER4MAX. Like if it wasn't for Willie Hernandez donating me my first wheelchair basketball chair, I'm not sure that I would have ever reached the potential that I've reached today. Wheelchair basketball chairs are quite expensive. I don't come from much. I don't come from much at all. Poverty is something I'm very familiar with. So being able to afford one of those chairs back when I was in high school was just that wasn't going to happen for me and my family. And for Willie to donate me that chair and really springboard me to the level that I am today, I can never repay that. That's something that I'll always be grateful for. But even ever since that first donation, they've always kept up with me. When I went through college, they kept up with me. When I made my first Paralympic team in 2003, they were still keeping tabs on me. I think that it really hit home when I guess it was right before Rio, when PER4MAX was really taking taking initiative as far as like making sure that the entire national team was taken care of. It didn't matter if you pushed the PER4MAX or not. They were going to make sure that the national team was taken care of. It was like their duty to make sure that we were represented well. That I think resonated with everybody on the entire team. Most of us were pushing PER4MAXs anyway, but that really resonated with us because we need to show them that their contribution to this sport, that their contribution to the program really means something. And the best way that we could do that is to go out there and get a gold. So in Rio, we really PER4MAX is one of the people that we played for. I know we always say that we're 12 strong and we play for each other. PER4MAX is part of that. When we say we play for each other, PER4MAX is part of that. They are just as much of a staple in Team USA's Team USA's wheelchair basketball golds than any other product or company or anything. They are Team USA wheelchair basketball.
Yes, and that's exactly why we're having this conversation right now. I noticed in the game and I was like, oh my gosh, they're all the same. It's like, who are these people? Who are these cool people? So I'm so glad to hear how much you love PER4MAX, and I'm sure they will be even happier to hear this. But I think that's great that they are really a part of this family. I know the PER4MAX family is something, but Team USA basketball is also a family. And that's amazing that's such a vital part, and I don't think people think about that enough.
They don't. And, you see so many guys, in our jerseys, you see so many of us that have a PER4MAX chair. That's not by accident. They really provide something that other companies can't. And you mentioned it, it's family. Anybody can say like, oh, come to this family or come to that family, whatever. But like, it really means something when you push a PER4MAX. They make sure that every single athlete that pushes a PER4MAX chair is going to reach their capabilities. And they don't care if you're, Matt Scott on Team USA with the gold medal, or you're, little Jackie who's playing junior ball and, just wants to go, make her first basket. Whether it be Chris or Danny, whether it be, Caesar or Willie, all those guys are, they play a huge role in so many of our lives and careers. And wheelchair basketball plays a big role in all of us. Like, people ask me like, how big is wheelchair basketball in your life? It's not part of my life. Like, it is my life. And those guys have really taken initiative in making sure that I'm successful in that. And they never penny pinched in this, I guess, the nature that I define my worth. This is where I define myself in wheelchair basketball, and they've helped me do
that. I love it. You've said so many things that I want to ask you about, but I think it's just so cool to hear that, like, my favorite thing that you said was wheelchair basketball isn't a part of my life, it is my life. And I think that's exactly why I have this show, because there are lots of people that don't know that this sport exists, and I want them to, because maybe I don't know, maybe this is what they need. Maybe this is what they need to go play. And so I hope that somebody hears your story and how much you love it, and then they go out and play and they find it, and they're as passionate about it as you.
I wish there was an Aggies podcast when I was a kid, because then I would hear some of the passion behind the sport. I would hear some of these stories, and maybe I would have been drawn in even sooner, because being born with my disability and 14 years of my life going by without actually knowing anything about this sport, that's a true shame. But luckily enough, and thankful enough for the Paralympic movement is growing the way it is. It just seems like we have so much more publicity and exposure that kids, it's impossible to miss us these days.
Yes, I agree. I mean, I didn't know as much as I know now. Obviously, now I'm deep into this, I feel like. But even a few years ago, during Rio, I didn't know as much about adaptive sport as I do now. And I think that's hugely due to things like NBC. That's a big part of this. But it's really cool to just see the growth in the short time that I have been involved in it compared to your many years being involved in a sport. But awesome. Okay, let's see. 2 more questions for you. These are the 2 questions that I kind of wrap up the show with. But let's start with, you've named a lot of people, but I wanted to ask you specifically if you could name 1 or 2, a couple people that have had maybe some kind of mentorship position in your life, or maybe influenced you in your journey to get you to where you are today.
That's such a difficult question for me to answer, just because there's so many people that have had a hand in this. I guess there's that old saying, like, it takes a village. When it comes in terms of success, it takes a village. And I think the people that have been behind me, whether it be my supporters or my family or my friends, or my sponsors, my teammates, there's so many people that I could really sort of attribute that success to. I definitely, as far as like people that I go to about anything, I'd have to highlight my mother. She's always been my sense of motivation, my sense of why I do anything. I've always just sort of wanted to go out and make her proud, and it's something that I like to say. And anytime I get a chance to speak, because she's been such a driving force in my career. But as far as I guess mentors, there's so many to name. There's Dave Kiley, who was a big wheelchair basketball player, in his day, and has kept his legacy going throughout my lifetime. He's definitely been someone that I've always looked up to. The Paul Schultes of the world. Let's see. Obviously Willie has been a tremendous influence in my career. Chris Comer as well, just helping me sort of guide and navigate the waters of this this Paralympic experience. Danny Fick has been, he's been the guy who I'm terrible with tools, and I can't fix my chair for anything. There's little kids who go out, and, they can change their tires and tubes, and I'm just not that, right? And I can come to Danny with no shame at all, being like, hey man, I broke my chair, and he's been that guy that can kind of put it back together, and he's been helping me kind of dial in what I want to do with my chair for years. There's from all my teammates on Team USA, I've looked up to them. I've watched a lot of them grow. There's not one person I can name. It's been a village of people.
And that's even better, right? I'm glad you have too many people to name, rather than this being an easy question and just having one. Having that circle is super important. I think that's really great. But awesome. Last question for you. I end the show on this one every single time. What is one piece of advice you would give younger Matt?
Ooh. If I could talk to younger me, I would tell younger me that whatever you dream, whatever that goal is, like, no matter how lofty, no matter how insurmountable people tell you that those goals are, you're going to reach them. All you have to do is put the work in. Just keep working, no matter what they tell you. Don't let people, instill their fears on you, and their doubts, and their judgments. Whatever you dream that you can do, you can, because I honestly feel like I've done that. I've dreamt some amazing things, some things that people told me would be insurmountable. And I'm here today having completed them and still going. So that's, if I could talk to younger me, I would just tell them to keep going, no matter what they say, no matter who tries to doubt you. You're going to do it. Just work as hard as you possibly can.
Amazing. I hope there's somebody out there that's in that spot and they are younger Matt and they hear it and then they go out and they do it.
I hope so too. That's what I'm all about. Junior players and college kids and kids that are coming up in the game now, they reach out to me all the time. And I just hope that I can, I try to lead by example. I can't always reach back in every direction. But I try my best just to I try to put a blueprint out there for them to follow. I feel like I've had a career that if you follow you followed in those footsteps, you live a happy life. And I just hope that I can lead by example.
Definitely. I think you're doing just that. I think you're doing a pretty good job at it. But Matt, thank you so much for coming on the show, sharing your story, and giving us lots and lots of great advice. Really appreciate you and your time.
Yeah, this was great. I appreciate you.
Matt, thanks so very much for coming on the show, sharing your story and enthusiasm for Performax. Join us next Monday for another episode of Adventures with Aggie, powered by Performax.